to a local hospital where surgeons worked feverishly to pull him back from the brink of death.
You asked me to see the film.
Once stabilized, the hospital staff had to piece together Mike's shattered body, which made us arrive as a
film on 2K.
How strange are things.
I thought a nigga watch what I do, but can't get his bitch back said something.
Being a survivor, I plan for it. I look forward every day.
Yeah, good streaming for me.
Someone else might not have survived such a
I'll
violent
be back, fellas. Brian, you thought you finna be dead when I come back, but I'm gonna be back, buddy.
Yeah, I'm going watching YouTube.
You work tomorrow, don't you? Bro, your schedule, you have like fucking 8 days straight in that motherfucker. I feel bad for you. I ain't gonna lie. Don't do that shit again. Don't do that shit again.
This show are real and extremely graphic. The human body is remarkably resilient. Every day we fight a new war against germs, toxins, injury, illness, catastrophe, and calamity. The fact that we survive it all is a miracle.
It's 1,000 ways to die.
Every day we live, we face 1,000 ways to die.
No cap. Every day we live, we face 1,000 ways to die, folks.
Billy DeMeo
No
is a
cap.
few short breaths away from freezing to
We
death.
can die from anything, bro.
Many of us think not a bad way to go. It's like falling asleep. If poor Billy here could talk, he'd tell you a different story. South
You
Philly Billy,
know how many
that's what
times that
everybody
we've
called
been in
him.
near-death situations, bro?
District through a
No
mob-connected cousin.
cap.
It was a sweet deal. And unlike his co-workers, the cold never bothered Billy. The temperature inside a meat locker is kept at a bone-chilling 10 degrees below zero. Sometimes, as a prank, a worker would be locked inside for a minute or two. But when it happened to Billy, it was no joke. Billy's body temperature starts out at a normal 98.6 degrees. But when that freezer door slammed shut, his death clock started ticking. Time and temperature were now his enemies. After 10 minutes, the palms on Billy's hands are down to 60 degrees. Anyone who's ever been out too long in the cold without gloves knows one thing. It hurts like hell. Capillaries in the surface of the hands constrict, causing blood to retreat deeper into the torso to keep vital organs functioning. This response to severe cold is one of our built-in defense mechanisms. The human body will sacrifice its own toes, fingers, hands, and feet to frostbite in order to ensure survival. 17 minutes in the freezer, and Billy's core temperature has dropped to 97 degrees. This triggers a major reaction. Deep inside his brain, the hypothalamus has detected the temperature drop and orders the constriction of the entire web of surface capillaries. His body-warming blood is now in full retreat. Hypothermia, which means a lack of heat, begins to set in when the body's core temperature dips below 95 degrees. It continues to fall about 1 degree every half hour. Billy's core temperature has fallen below 90 degrees, and his eyesight has begun to fail. Such simple things as the numbers on a watch become gibberish.
Nobody likes you. Take that back.
The victim has crossed the border into a medical condition called profound hypothermia. Billy's blood thickens and slows, reducing his ability to burn oxygen. His nerve tissue is getting too cold to transmit electrical impulses, causing his heart to beat erratically. Right before Billy's heart stops forever, a a pang of consciousness breaks through the ice. Maybe it wasn't such a good idea to smuggle sides of beef out the back door.
This is fucked. I've been living here for 30
And
years.
a really bad idea to have gotten the boss's 17-year-old granddaughter pregnant.
These stupid, ugly, house-looking motherfuckers. I've had enough. Fuck these guys.
The fuck?
There's an old Italian proverb that says, revenge is a
The
dish
fuck
best
this
served
guy?
cold. Rest in peace.
My boy got iceberg. That was way to die number 292.
When people freeze to death, they are often mistaken as victims of sexual assault. The reason? Right before dying, restricted blood vessels dilate, producing a sensation of extreme heat, prompting them to strip down. It's a phenomenon called paradoxical undressing.
I was just trying to help, and I ended up hurting. Yes, I still
The passengers in this twin-engine Cessna are about to die. Cause of death? Not what you think. If we back up to the beginning of the story, it's certainly not how these three friends thought their day or lives would end. Richard Patson and his two pals had been exploring the reefs by Cabo San Lucas for the last 3 days. They decided to squeeze in one last dive before heading home.
Shut your Ray Cruz looking ass up, boy.
The divers made their way back to the surface, making sure to come up slowly enough to safely release nitrogen gas stored up in their bloodstreams. Decompression sickness, commonly referred to as the bends, poses a serious threat to anyone who scuba dives. Catalina Island houses the largest hyperbaric chamber in Southern California. Hyperbaric comes from the word hyper, meaning above normal, and baric, meaning of pressure. If a diver is suffering from the bends, he's brought here for treatment.
What decompression sickness is, it's normally called the bends. As you go down underwater, breathing air off a scuba cylinder, the air in the tank has about 80% nitrogen. And so the deeper we go, and the longer we stay underwater, the more of this nitrogen gets dissolved in the body. As we come up, if the gas isn't released slow enough, that gas could then come out of solution in the form of bubbles. What will happen is you'll have bubbles that could form on the
Yeah, he
joints.
said goats, Curry.
You could have bubbles
That nigga be contacting nigga. I said, yeah, he ain't never done a nigga a day in his life.
360 windmills.
Richard was eager to get back into
That
his
nigga ain't never did that shit. I ain't gonna.
for getting his certification.
That's exactly what that shit faking ass.
He forgot one of the cardinal rules of life.
I don't belong here.
You ain't playing great defense, and I know that's not real.
As soon as the unpressurized plane climbed out,
That
and
person in the windmills and dunking and shit.
Richard and his
Tomahawk,
friends began to feel the
yeah.
first symptoms of DCS.
Yeah, he never did that shit a day in his life.
The probability of developing decompression sickness. Probably the worst scenario would be something called a vestibular effect, where bubbles form in the balance mechanism of the ear, and you end up with just severe nausea, severe vertigo, or dizziness.
Let me see on
It's a
this
really bad
goddamn
idea to
day.
fly following a dive, yeah.
With Richard at the controls of the plane, but losing control of his mind and body, it was the all-time worst-case scenario. The three men,
I'm dead. Oh, Ryan's still up.
It's over. Come on, nigga.
you finna crack up a coda.
He said he be back.
Look what I just sent y'all. Look what I just sent y'all.
Dead here.
Just laugh, bro.
On me. It's me too.
Greg, why y'all Lakers play like that, bud?
I didn't watch the game, bro.
All I know is they came out flat or 10.
Wow. Yeah, I'm dead.
I'm in a different bag.
Freaking hate watching these fucking bitches.
Bro, what the hell you watch the dishes before you go?
Bro, I'm telling you, like on Friday, those would be the last day I wash those dishes.
Little the K, little the coffin,
Forget the world.
Like, bro, that's 2 years ago.
Got a body.
That's 2 years ago. God.
Still gonna be a baboon in college. That's sad, bro.
No, the fuck I'm not. I'm getting up early.
Don't know the fuck I'm not.
There's shit to do out there.
Yo, ass wake up at 8 o'clock.
No. Madden 21 gonna be out. There's hella shit to do.
Oh, so you say you waking up at 9 in the morning?
Yes. And plus, I got school anyway. I have to.
Motherfucker, you don't gotta go to class.
Bro, I'm pretty sure I got one. I'm pretty sure I got one class I gotta go to.
Horror as their plane augured straight into a mountainside.
That was Wait to Die 713. Either on the level, the level.
1870, New York City. During construction of the Brooklyn Bridge, workers came down with a mysterious malady known as Caisson's
I'm on
disease.
episode 3
Workers
of
would
8.
come back to the surface and double over in severe pain, leaving many crippled and some dead. They were suffering from a newly diagnosed illness, the bends.
Probably sound like some bullshit illness. I just miss hearing that sound.
Oh, me.
How you watching it?
I bought a season on YouTube.
How much was it?
They've even turned
14.
into a commodity. One of Haiti's
Yeah,
biggest
like 14,
exports are
16, 17.
research purposes.
I just clicked to get it out the damn way. I want to see this shit, man.
Major death kudos.
This land belongs to me.
Oh.
These two brothers have squared
Bro,
off over
they
the
just
land
really
dispute.
be buying a scale just to see how much weed they really be giving.
The man on the ground, James, is thinking about revenge.
Trust me, when you
He seeks out a voodoo witch doctor and
That
arranges a
that be
nasty
them real smokers, huh? Yeah, me.
people make sure they ain't getting finesse.
That
And
white
I
powder
get
seed
my goods. I know I ain't getting this, but I'm gonna buy a scale one day though.
is a slow-acting poison called
they just gonna need one game up.
TX. Tetrodotoxin can be extracted
It's cool because they 3 games up on the Spurs.
This is considered a delicacy.
That's one thing the Grizzlies is. They 3 games up technically on the Spurs. For 9.
But they need to start losing right now.
They sometimes will eat it to get a badge of honor.
The Grizzlies gonna win like two games. Like them.
Grizzlies got the hardest shit. There's no way they got them playing the Thunder. I think it was like the Thunder, the Lakers, the Bucks, and Clippers.
They gonna win like two, 3 games of their last stuff.
After quarreling with his angry brother, James was pronounced dead. But when they buried him, he was paralyzed in a zombie-like state, still conscious, yet unable to move or scream. He could only watch as he was buried alive.
Bro, like imagine getting buried alive.
And then paralysis.
I'm kind of close to COVID, so that's not gonna work.
Getting buried alive. They putting dirt over you while you're alive.
James's casket was dug up by grave robbers. When the robbers opened the casket, they were faced with the horrific sight of James, who spent the last minutes of his life trying to claw his way out of the casket until his fingers were worn down to the bone.
Way to Die number 91.
Ooh, I hate that. Ooh.
The man flapping his arms like a bird is Dolph Schmidt, a German librarian with a serious fetish for fish. Dolph longed to be as close to fulfill his dream. This amateur ichthyologist went so far as to create his own fish suit. He took an old water bread, cut it up, and glued it into something he called the merman. Dolph couldn't wait to take it on its maiden voyage. At a nearby lake, he climbed into his fish suit and headed down to the water. But it was slow going, and he quickly started to overheat.
We produce heat internally, and we dissipate that heat to the environment. All cells are metabolically active, and as energy is produced, heat is dissipated.
The human body possesses millions of sweat glands located just beneath the skin. When body temperature rises, sweat begins to form in these glands and is secreted to the surface. As the sweat evaporates, heat is dissipated and cools off the body.
The example of that man who put that waterbed material on him, those water molecules could not penetrate. He put a microclimate next to his skin. He had a double whammy. He basically couldn't lose heat by sweating, and he couldn't lose heat by radiation. So there was no way that he was going to dissipate heat. If the temperature outside was cool, that could have saved him.
Unfortunately for Dolph, it was a scorcher, 97 degrees. Not long after starting for the water, he began feeling the first symptoms of hyperthermia.
Initially, it could be heat cramps, where you can start to see some pain. Then it goes to heat prostration. You're not going to have attention. You're going to be a little bit delirious, loss of balance, and then it goes to heat stroke. If you get into heat stroke, that's a critical area, because if you don't get cooled down rapidly, you'll never survive.
To reach a point of heat stroke would normally take about 3 hours. It was so hot and Dolph exerted so much energy, he got there in less than 15 minutes. With the lake's edge tantalizingly close, Dolph's core temperature redlined at 108 degrees. Right before he died, Dolph finally got his wish. He knew exactly what it felt like to be a fish out of water.
What about 600 motherfucking 6?
Expression by 25%. We've watched stories of folks who died accidentally. Tragic, just through plain stupidity. But when we take each other out, death becomes even more gruesome. That brings us to our next story. Any married man out there knows what it's like to be pecked to death. Back in the 2nd century, it had a different meaning. Let's say you're the guy with the beard and the bad fur coat, and you had incurred the wrath of the tribal leaders. Here's what would happen. They would wrap you up in a freshly killed animal, and then take you out into the forest and leave you tied to a tree. What happens next would depend upon whatever carnivores were around. Most likely, vultures would quickly pick up the scent and descend upon you like a fat kid on a Happy Meal. Their razor-sharp beaks would tear you apart while you helplessly watch yourself get eaten alive. Those were the days. Then to die. Here's what would happen. They would wrap you up in a freshly killed animal skin, and then take you out into the forest and leave you tied to a tree. What happens next would depend upon whatever carnivores were around. Most likely, vultures would quickly pick up the scent and descend upon you like a fat kid on a Happy Meal. Their razor-sharp beaks would tear you apart while you helplessly watch yourself get eaten alive. Those were the days.
In the world. What was your name?
Her name is Shayna Richardson, and this is Rick West, her husband and jump instructor. Shayna is about to make her first solo parachute jump.
All right, Shayna, what are you going to do?
My first AFF.
AFF stands for Accelerated Freefall, and Shayna was prepared.
When they got shrunk. If you had cargo shorts on,
It was a perfect morning outside of Joplin, Missouri. A good day to jump. Once the jump plane reached 12,000 feet, Shayna and Rick climbed out on the wing and flew off. Rick recorded the event on a video camera.
Good job, Dana.
It's diabetes.
sorry, I'm losing my
Looked up and said, good job, Shannon. You did a good job. And then a few seconds later, I see her spinning in front of me.
Sorry, man. Everyone who came in only had breath mints and
Yeah, man. Thought she was done for fun. Seconds later, I started realizing she's not having fun and we have a problem here.
They give us this candy. Sometimes they'll drop in an apple or a cocktail on it, but it's very rare.
And the heart went to my throat. I couldn't hardly breathe. I was like, oh man, I gotta do something for her. What can I do? Can I get close enough? She comes so close, man. I had thoughts of, man, if you could just jump down, dive down real quick and grab her. And I knew, in reality, that if I tried to grab her, we could probably tangle parachutes and both fall to our death. So I spin on top of her, yelling at her, pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. She's yelling back at me. Yelling, pump the brakes. She's like, man, it's not working. You can't hear that in the video, but it's actually happening.
Yeah, this level was run by the Bowidian Church. It's their religion that worships Jesse early. That's why they call it the Bowidian Church. Okay,
I'm feeling sick to the stomach, by the time we get close to the line. There was my girlfriend. About hit the pavement. She hit my car. Silence after that, and I just thought that most likely she was dead. So I shut the video off.
I'm about to watch 2K17 all tonight. 17. I see this TikTok talking about this is the 2K17 vibe zone. What was that jumper? What, high school 1 or something like that? Jumper was kind of such a good game.
I'm white. I'm white.
Waited at all costs. We defied, and we denied.
Stop busting it, bro.